Hello, I'm Ben, the Terrible Gamer, and I'm back today playing Minecraft. I thought I'd introduce everybody to my personal Minecraft server. I've been running it since, I think, 2013, and I play it with two other friends. I host this at my house on its own standalone computer, and it's up pretty much 24/7. So I thought I'd show you around a few of my creations. This is a town I built. Everything in it was built just by me. I'm not done yet, but I'll show you. This is the main palace or castle that I have here. I've been building. I've been building on it for about 3 to 4 years straight, without working on any other projects. It's slow coming, but I think in the end it'll pay off. It's pretty massive. I haven't quite figured out what all the rooms are going to be yet, and this is just the front of it. I'll fly over it real quick so you can see. I do use a picture from the inside as my banner on my YouTube page. But basically it has these two back rooms, and they're kind of like social, like party rooms or something. You know, have a dance floor and these nice long corridors and different things inside of them, and I have a garden out back. So let's take a look inside real quick. I really like the stained glass windows on it as well. As you see, it's completely lit up. I'm not using any type of light mod or anything. It's lit up completely with natural vanilla colors and lighting. I have little things here that are sticking out that I've been, sometimes I build little things to test before I actually put them into the work. Then I was working on a chandelier there. As you see, no medieval town would be complete without a Gothic style cathedral. It's kind of cheesy, I know, but I thought it was a cool rendition. And a lot of times in medieval times, the church and the castle were the two prominent buildings within towns. Everything else was kind of limited. There's obviously a lot of space here that I haven't filled out yet, but I'm working on it. Eventually one day it'll be nice. You see a lot of grass with like water in it, and what's going to eventually happen is between the water and the wall, there's actually going to be flowers there. There were at one point, but by moving the whole thing over one or two, I had to take those out. Kind of like this is. This is my arena. I figured no medieval town would be complete without an arena also. So, it's kind of styled after like the arena in Ben-Hur where they have their horse races and stuff. And I thought it came out pretty nice. Underneath they have a nice little training area that I haven't furnished yet. And they have a hall that goes into their living quarters. So the gladiators, they never leave their living quarters. They go straight underground to the arena from there. Nice little gardens. Playing around with flag designs. First I used the American flag, but I'm thinking leaning towards something like this, making up my own. Haven't ever really decided. This is the living quarters here. This big building. This was the first building I built here, was the living quarters. You walk in, it has these big doors, and you flip the lever and the doors close up front. Has a nice mess hall. Wanted a big, nice wooden table for parties, the chandelier, and little cooking areas and such. And underneath there's living quarters and places for storage, and there's the hall that goes to the arena. As I make it to the main hall, you go up the stairs, and there's a library, because warriors shouldn't just train their body, they should also train their mind. So I thought it'd be a good idea to add a library to their living quarters. Plus, they're not supposed to go outside so much, so they have to have places, some other type of activity to do. And then they have their own individual sleeping quarters, very small, but that's the life of a gladiator, I guess. So I have another room up above that where they could train archery and swordsmanship. They're lit by a light block underneath a glass block, which I thought gave it a nice aesthetic. And then they have archery rounds. And over in the corners, they have these little spiral staircases going up. And these actually lead to the roof because there's something special on the roof. They should always know what they're fighting for, I thought. So I gave them a nice little exit on the top, and it can oversee the land as well as go into kind of like an occultist room or something, somewhere they can meet in secret. While up top they have this long staircase to a practice arena, where they can all just big enough for gladiators to sit and stand and fight each other and as practice. And they have watchtowers, of course, on all ends. Again, with the Gothic architecture where it comes up to a high point, I really like that. So my plan is for the castle to eventually have that as well on its steeples. Now, another thing about my world is that every place I built has tunnels. I dug out the tunnels by hand, and every single place has tunnels that connect it to the other locations. Now, obviously, I have a place for the choir to go underneath the stage, and then I have these little staircases down that lead into like basically like their Sunday school / the monks' monastery kind of like shelving for their books and stuff, different little classrooms. And at the end, like I said, I have tunnels everywhere, and a lot of them are hidden. I have a hidden tunnel here that connects me to the castle, and there should be another block here that closes that. So, and it closes up behind you. So inside the castle, there's 2 lower floors. I haven't furnished them yet. Obviously, this is one of the lower floors, the first lower floor. But there are some different unique little things here. There is a town water supply, and the way the water supply is from the river. But I built this contraption here because in case an enemy were to surround the fort, and poison the river, they could cut off their water supply right here. And as you saw in town, there's all sorts of little levees and water ditches, and that allows them to cut off that water supply. Now in here I have, of course, no awesome castle would be complete without a sub base. So I have all these little submarines that I built, and actually it goes right out into the ocean. So there's like a little sub base underneath, and you can actually get in these by walking over on top, standing and opening up the hatch, and you can drive your little submarine around. So I do use a few plugins. I use a CraftBucket server, even though CraftBucket has long since been dead because of the DMCA takedowns. They do still compile a compatible server from this hosted, I think Spigot. The Spigot server does it. But anyway, so you can still get the updated version and make it work with all your old plugins. I use Dynmap, so you can go online. There's a web page to see the map of the entire world layout. I use scrolling warp signs, which allow you to warp between different locations. So this is a throne room here. This is what I had on my home page. Haven't quite finished it out either, but I did finish the ceiling, at least the aesthetic of the ceiling, which I thought came out well. So yeah, let's check out some other places. Give me just a second here. We'll go to the front. Oh, well, let me show you the front of this, because this was pretty difficult to find out. Obviously, there's this road here, and I also have roads connecting all the locations. So I have this entrance, and you see it's not like the rest of the wall, where that's flat, but this entrance actually kind of concaves inward towards the center, which I thought was really cool. So it's a nice little welcoming barricade before you get to the actual main gate, you know, with a bridge and two bridges on top to connect the two towers, or the walls. Anyways, I have a scrolling warp sign right down here, and let's go to the first place I ever made, which I call Genesis because it means the first. And basically, me and my friend started this as a survival server, and eventually became a creative server. And the original spawn point is actually this little house over here. As you see, there's some more castles, nowhere near as good as the one I've been working on. That was my first attempt, was a castle between ridges. But this town is the first one we came across. It was actually an NPC village that we expanded on. You know, built a wall around the little island that it was on, and built a wood forest, and a lighthouse. And that lighthouse does spin, but every time you log in, you have to reset it. Never quite figured out how to make it work perfectly all the time. Honestly, I haven't spent a whole lot of time working on it either. So this is a little NPC village that we expanded on. As you see, there's quite a few villagers now. And this is the original mine entrance here, this little building. You actually walk in, doors will close behind you, and it goes down to like a little chasm. And this is where we mined for a lot of the stuff we used to build the village with. Like I said, it was originally a survival server, and we switched it to creative because that's right when Minecraft got bought out by Microsoft. And then shortly after that, they started releasing a whole bunch of little updates with new blocks and characters and stuff. And in order to explore that completely, we decided we turned this into a creative world, and I'd host another one as a survival world. So, you know, I have the farm, the original farms we had built for food. This is the first castle. I called it the Border Patrol because it's kind of like right on the border of that little town. They have an observatory built as well. Let's go back to the observatory real quick because there's something kind of cool there. As you see, I got water on the top, and I can actually make that go down around it, and it gives it kind of a cool little aesthetic whenever it's all set off. You know, the water falls and flows down to the roof area, so it kind of looks like a big fountain, which I thought was kind of cool. Looking back, it may be a little cheesy, but I like it. So, as I mentioned, there's our spawn house, and this little house here was built when it was a creative server. There's actually a tunnel between there and the town over there. There's also tunnels leading to these other two castles and all these other locations. But anyways, we built roads as well, so I'm going to follow the roads. I used to go underground, not much to see there. This is kind of cool. My friend Nick built this. He built this as like a wizard's tower. It was meant to be moved around occasionally because it looks like, you know, it just kind of floated here from nowhere. And if you go inside, it has like a long, elaborate path to the top, and it's like a little bookshelf kind of castle-like thing. But it's a wizard's hut. It floated in from somewhere else, mysterious. Don't really know where. So this over here is my first attempt at making a modern-looking city. I built these walls out of iron. That was before they had quartz. So looking back, I could probably change it to quartz now instead of iron blocks. It probably looked better. But, you know, before they had all that, they had the iron blocks. So that's what I used. I built these little apartments. Well, I built one of them, and I kind of copied and pasted. One of them has a secret entrance to a underground system. Again, like I said, every place has an underground tunnels to it, and this is no different. They all interconnect between all the different locations. And this is the sewer system for the city. So under the roads, I made sure that there was a sewer system. And this over here, that's kind of like the police department. It didn't really come out all that aesthetically pleasing, but it's supposed to be a government building. You know, not all government buildings are pleasing. You know, maybe the top tier federal government buildings are, but you know, for little old town police stations or not. I built one skyscraper. It came out okay. It's kind of interesting. And the park, and this is the big thing. I've never really finished this, but it's mostly finished. It is a library, a city library, and I'm eventually going to have a big round counter here in the center, or I plan to anyways, you know, to welcome you, and little benches around every place. But yeah, I basically have it lit up completely, and it's all powered from that one block down there in the center. This is right when lights came out, redstone lights, and I started really using that to my advantage. As you see, every floor is redstoned to the floor beneath it for lighting purposes. So yeah. And back here I have like my little contraption garden, basically a little test area for different things. You know, if you wanted to build something and test it first or different things, you could. And also sometimes I left signs to tell people what they were. Not all of those signs remain. Like this over here, you put something in the furnace, and when it burns, it will actually open up a secret hole. This is a rotating light here, and the light block is stationary with the other blocks hiding it as it turns around, so it actually circles. It's based on the clock system, so you make a redstone clock, and then it'll go round. Other things too, like before they had sticky blocks, you had to build, you know, your own 3x3 doors, 3x2 doors, and you had to stack all these blocks together. So, oh, sorry. So you could do that by switching the clock system. Here's a simple little clock system. It rotates it, and it'll cause it to go on, and then you hit it again, and it will open. Also, you know, I tested with the tripwire. I don't know if there's anything in the block. It's supposed to spit out a rail car, and you can jump in the rail car as it goes by. That was just figuring out how to do a light column. And this is interesting. This is something my friend Nick actually built, and I kind of refined it over the years because the redstone materials got better. It used to take up this whole area back here, but now it's actually all buried at this point. Anyways, you turn it on, and it will actually build a wall for you, a dirt wall, and it'll keep building itself, you know, slowly. So I usually reset it by destroying all this and putting dirt back down in order just to show, you know, that it can be reset. So yeah, and this is like a little combination lock system that I worked out with different gates. Basically, you have to push the right combination, and it'll open the lock. But anyways, let's go over to the Bit Garden, because the Bit Garden is a mixture of things. My friend Dustin actually is the best one at the Bit Art. He's the other guy that I run the server with. He built the TARDIS, and yeah, you can go in it, but it's not complete really. There's a swimming pool and the main area, and I think that's all he's got built of it so far. Most of the top of it's empty at this point. Again, there's a little tunnel leading over and across. Like I said, all our places are connected with tunnels. And we have two versions of Metroid. He built the one on the ground, and then what I did, I actually purchased a collector's, not a collector's edition, but the original complete in-box Mario Paint. And inside it has a lot of little bit art options, because in Mario Paint you can do bit art as well, and it's all 16 by 16 artwork, and it has like the little Mario blocks and stuff. But it also had Samus, so I put a Samus. I did the original NES version of Samus because it came out before, I think, the Super Nintendo version. I want to say is why the old Samus was in it. I'm not 100% on that, but I think that's it. And then I have two different animations for Mario. So I have the walking animation and the they're both walking animations, but different positions. And then he was gonna make a wall that looked like the original Mario world or resembled it, and he was also working on Charizard over there. So this is some of his work. I don't really know about it. He has rebuilt this area like, no kidding, 10, 12 times. He's rebuilt it a lot. Like, he will build a bunch of walls and a bunch of fancy stuff that looks decent, and then he'll decide, no, I don't like that, I'm going to tear it all down. Me, I usually pick another location and build somewhere else and then come back to it and fix it as I want, but he will not do that. He has this whole area over here, and he just builds stuff and tears it down and rebuilds it, and he does good work. I mean, he's gotten much better over the years, and some of his stuff that he came up with, I'm kind of envious of, because, I'm like, oh, that's so simple, why didn't I think of that? He never seems to finish it, though. He builds a little and then he stops. He does play a lot more survival than me. Like I said, I'm terrible at games, and survival's no different on Minecraft. I can stay alive if I avoid the monsters, but anyone can avoid the monsters. Like, even if I'm loaded for bear, I usually end up dying once I go out and try to fight them. Different things here. I have an underwater train station. It's not complete, so I'm not going to bother showing it. But my original plan for this area was, because it was originally mine, was build a castle way up here. And I didn't build the circular stand for it. That's something Dustin did. I suggested he bring it all the way to the ground in the back here, because it would look cool. But I did build that little inlet there, and I built this out here as a plan to make a little floating city. There's really just a couple other places left. So let's go over to those. This is a place that was originally started by my friend Nick, and then Dustin took over. He built like a little bit of the entrance, Nick did, and then Dustin redesigned it and rebuilt it, and it's just another little town. My plan for it was originally it would be like a little logging town because it had the forest right behind it. But I'm not sure what Dustin's plans are for it now. He's built a wall, and he's rebuilt the wall, and he's fixed the wall. Donald Trump should hire him. He's gotten pretty good at building walls. So let's go over to the desert area real quick, because that is something I built. I built a pyramid that is a step pyramid, but it also is a labyrinth. So you go down in it, and I can't even remember how to get out of it at this point. But you go down into it, and you go down a couple layers, and then basically, it's a labyrinth. You have to find your way out, and it's pretty complex. It's 5 or 6 stories. When you get to the top, you get a little room and an exit, and there's also a hidden entrance to the tunnels in there as well at the bottom floor. So let's go over to one more castle that I built. This is the second castle I built, and it's by far the most work I've done on any location, I think. Maybe the other place was better, but this is the first time beacons came out, and once we found out we could make colored beacons, it was on. I was like, yeah, I'm building that. So I built this big entrance here. These little things here will actually shoot arrows at you, and there's traps you can start from in there. They'll shoot arrows back and forth to incoming people. And I built like a little town here, and I wanted to make like a really close together town, kind of like medieval European towns where everything was built right next to each other. And there's little taverns and shops and inns. Like all 4 of these little buildings here they're symmetrical. They're inns, and they have like little taverns underneath and get food and stuff. And there's a healing beacon right in the middle of town. Give people a reason to come here. And I built these little houses, and this little house, like pyramid house with a thing on it, but it goes down into other floors. And some of these I got help on. This one I built. I built this, which I never finished, and I didn't like it, so I'm probably going to tear it down one day. But this here, like I built part of some of this, and then my friend Nick came in and built these other houses, and I thought he did a pretty good job. So, also started like a little step area over here. I wanted to like corner off a piece of the town where like the nobility live and stuff, and I figured, hey, you know, I could build another step area and build little houses along it and a park in the middle. This is my, like I said, this is my second castle. It is a little square. But my original plan for the castle was not for it to look like that. It was to look a little more ornate. But once I got up there, I realized I was kind of strapped for space, so building up was the only option. I built the base first as like a big circle, and then kind of built up from there, one end. And so yeah, all this is hollow. And you know, you come up here and there's a great door that closes there to get in. But you enter, they have more living space and a throne and stuff. And upstairs like living quarters, so I'm not going to really show that off. But you know, I'll go downstairs where the arena and stuff are. Again, you know, with the training areas. I never really filled this in. Those are going to be like rooms and stuff. But back here I have more training areas. So yeah, that's pretty much every place. There are a few other things in the world, but you know, that's everything major. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.